Hello, lovely people, and welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and this is Evolve Chit. It's my little corner of the world where I like to talk about spirituality, metaphysical stuff, universal laws, and psychology. So it's a Tuesday morning, and I was just reflecting on my weekend. I had a lot of fun. I spent some time with family and friends. And Sunday night, I found myself at a women's healing circle. And it was a lot of fun. It was just a great opportunity to come together with a few other women and do a little bit of clearing and cleansing kind of rituals and, just be there for each other as we held space and did those kinds of things you do in an energy circle. So one of the activities that we did in this circle was we wrote down a question and on an index card and folded it up and put it in a bowl. And then we passed that around the room and we each had to select a folded up piece of paper. And of course we couldn't choose our own. So when we opened the card, we were to read the question and to share our feelings or response to that question. Offering our own wisdom to the other women in the room. So it was a really cool exercise. The question that I picked was, someone had asked about a longing that they had been feeling with a past connection, with somebody, a man that they were in a relationship with, and it didn't work out. There was incompatibilities and so on, but she was still holding out hope and longing for this connection and wondered if she should keep holding space for this relationship. So I thought, wow, the universe works in amazing ways. I felt that I was, based on my experiences and things that I have gone through, that I was really actually really happy to have this question. So when I responded, I, basically said that, in my experience, when we're holding out hope for somebody to be something that they are currently not able to be, that really can block us from our blessings and the abundance that is available to us, at our fingertips when we're staying stuck or hopeful that somebody is going to return or show up or what have you. Now, in some ways, the longing can be really helpful to help us see where we might be stuck. So this is where looking at those things that we're feeling and using them as a mirror to reflect back to us what's going on inside of us. So my response to her was, what do you feel or believe in your longing about, holding on to this connection? What do you feel and believe that you're getting from this, or that this person can offer you right now? And in that moment, right now, this person is not able to be with you and maybe incapable of being in a relationship with you. So, my advice to her was to look at what was tied up in that longing. And is that something that she has been neglecting, giving to herself? More self-love, or the belief that she's really worthy of a connection with somebody who is available to be with her, and so on. So it was really helpful to say these things to someone else, because it had shown me how far I have come in my process, and especially ever since I was, triggered by all this twin flame stuff when I met my fake twin flame back in 2017. So it just got me thinking in general about the things that I had felt and experienced, and then also the things that I have heard from people I have talked to or coached or read for along the way here. And when holding out hope becomes a bad thing. So in my experience with this and my little, thought experiments and reading and research and things that I do that have all been in an effort to help me understand what I was going through, one thing I know for sure is that we are a frequency, and our thoughts, our beliefs, our energy, and all that inner narrative that's going on is tangible. While you may not be expressing it, while you may not be acting on it, it is still something that is happening and going on within you, and it creates a vibration, and that vibration is your frequency. So your thoughts are real. Your thoughts are tangible. Even if they're not something you can put into your hand, they emit an energy and a frequency. So when we're holding out this longing or like an unhealthy hope, it brings more of that back in. You, while you may be attracting in the person that is on your mind right now, it may not be fulfilling, or it may be short-lived, or you may find that you're falling back into old patterns that are feeling you, making you feel less than, optimal, or less than perhaps you're not living your authentic life. So in my experience, and holding out longing, or having longing and holding out hope in a way that is unrealistic and unhealthy, it yielded me not the best results. And it also blocked me from being able to experience other things in my life. So when I was holding out longing for a connection with someone, I realized that it didn't allow me to show up in ways in which, when I was out in the world, where I wasn't allowing myself to perhaps connect with people, or to experience things that I thought I wanted to experience with, like, my fake twin, or even my real twin, when I was really going through the motions of it all with him. So I was cutting myself short by just putting aspects of my life on the back burner. I may have been out and about and doing my thing, but I was really stifling myself. And when I realized that the longing and all that negativity was keeping me stuck, I started to let go. And while I still may have had like one foot on the train and one on the platform, so to speak, there were times I would go out and, I would get, talk to different people, or talk to men, or get, kind of, somebody would be flirting with me, and I wouldn't join it. I wouldn't indulge in it, or participate. And it, when I look back on it, I was like, wow, there were actually a lot of opportunities for me to date and meet other people who I probably could have had a lot of fun with. And even in general, just like the romantic aspect of it aside, I can recall there were some times where I was in some emotional turmoil, and it affected me in a way that maybe I didn't go and do some things that I look back on I wish I would have done. And it's just one of those things that all these dynamics were intended to show us is what is keeping us stuck inside of us. And for me personally, it was relationship dynamics. It was the relationship dynamics in romantic relationships that I could see where there was a pattern throughout my life. And not with all people that I dated, but with certain personality types. And then, fast forward to 2017, and I happened upon this twin flames term. And right around the time a person had entered my life who looked like they, checked all the boxes in terms of what a twin flame is. So in that experience with him, I was holding out this longing and hope. And again, the funny thing is, I've said this in my other videos, is that when I look at this, I never really wanted to be in a relationship with this person. This is actually not somebody I would want to be friends with. So it's just incredible how this energy can stir stuff up. And that's why I talk about things the way that I do in my videos, because whether this person is your twin flame, and whether this person is the person that you were supposed to be in a romantic relationship, all of that aside, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you're thinking, what you're believing, and how that is creating your vibration and your frequency. So if you're somebody who has inner thoughts, or hardened beliefs about who you are, or how the world is, or how the world treats you, that is what's going to show up. And unfortunately, the world is a little bit of a crazy place right now, and life can be hard. But how are you choosing to show up for, what's here in front of you? And I know a lot of people who, are on a twin flames journey or a spiritual journey. A lot of people align with this narrative about being in mission or chosen ones or whatever. And that's all great as long as you don't let it go to your head. But what does that really mean? All of this was intended to trigger us and show us, our light and our light and our shadow sides. And how are we showing up for ourselves? And when we're showing up and being our best selves, that allows us to show up and be our best selves for others and for the world and for the planet and for history. I mean, that's the mission stuff. So when we're, kind of stuck in these narratives of what the teachings are, it can really hold us back, which is why I respect when I found some, content in my process that spoke to that, because I had this kind of conflict within me. Even though I felt like all that mission and chosen one stuff, I was like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what is that all about? I never really aligned with it, but I still kind of put this whole content and concept on a pedestal. And when I started to dig into this more and understanding the psychology of, attachment styles and things like that, and I could see the parallels to the twin flames content and how this, a person triggers us. I believe that every person in their life will go through a dark night of the soul, maybe a couple of them. I don't know. I mean, I look on my life and I'm like, I feel like I've gone through some, evolutions here more than once, pronounced in different ways or because of different purposes. But it was this experience that really just blew the top off. And other people may go through things in their own way. Like some people struggle with drug and alcohol addiction or other addictions, until we can only hope that we get to this point where, the coconut falls on the tree and, bonks us on the head and we're like, what have I been doing? So that's what this was intended to do. It was intended to be kind of the bonk on the head, like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you cutting yourself short? Why are you, limiting yourself? Especially when you think about it, and this is not intended to trigger anyone, because I feel when you're on this spiritual path, we're so focused on being in a relationship with a person, when all that person was really intended to do was to help us have a better relationship with ourselves and show us where we were lacking in that connection with ourselves. And many people end up with their person as they balance out their energy. We know if you follow different channels on here, sometimes coaches have their students talk about their connections, or they're marrying their twin and so on. And all of that's awesome. You can have that relationship if that's something, you get to that place and what you choose. I've also talked to a lot of people who've balanced their energy and they don't want to be in a relationship with that person. Some of them don't even want to be a friend to that person. So all of it is perfect. All of it is as it should be. So that's why it's so important to, kind of drop that narrative of, what the goal is, and that's being in that relationship with that person. That person was intended to show you something really amazing and about you, and that is that you are amazing, and that perhaps you haven't been believing in that yourself. And where have you been holding yourself back? So I know when I was going through my process in all of this, and I kept putting it like, well, this is the relationship that I want to be in, and this is the kind of person that I want to be in this relationship with. And, I was getting clear on those things. And then when the person I believe is my real twin, and I have tried to demystify this stuff, but there's something about this connection and the things that I have used to kind of measure it or determine if it is, that are, that some people on some of the channels or content out here about, the signs or indicators that a person is your twin, or using astrology or numerology to determine someone is your twin. Like, I've done those things, and sometimes it's like, whoa, that's a little freaky. Like, how does that? So that's why I call this person my twin. But, in terms of the definition of that, they really did, gently and in a very loving way, kind of further push me onto my spiritual path. And that's why I believe this person is my twin. So with him, when I was showing up and trying to force something or push a relationship or this or that, or be something that I wasn't to get what I wanted, he didn't want to have any parts of it. It's when he dipped out, he would just check out. And then I had known, by this point in my whole process and research, I had known enough about like the energy dynamics and this and that, the push and pull, to realize like, oh, hold on, this is still the energy stuff. Like this is where you really need to balance your energy. So that's when I dropped the longing. That's when I dropped the hopefulness of being in a relationship with him. And I just focused on being me. Like, who am I? How am I showing up in my life right now? And in some places, like I was really happy with what I was doing and where I was at in my goals and so on. And in other places I saw where I still needed to do some stuff. So he was and still continues to be like my gauge of where my energy's at. So when he would come in, especially early on in our connection, there were some times where we would have gaps and we wouldn't be interacting or talking. And I could see that's where my energy was out of whack. And as soon as I would balance that out, I would know it. I was like, I'm going to hear from him. I would just know. And literally, like within less than 24 hours, I would get a text or a phone call. And this was just showing me where I was, playing with my energy. And then as I, continued to traverse this and figure things out, and sometimes the longing would come up, and then, I would kind of energetically push on him, or even push on him, like with a text or texting or interacting or whatever, we do, I could feel him push away. And then when I would come back in and balance out, and I wouldn't put any expectation or frustration on it, he would come back in. And this dance happened for a little while. And I was, continuing to push the accelerator, push the brake, and so on. And to the point where I was just like, this is actually kind of fun to see really and prove this out, So that happened a few times. And I can still do it now and just test it to see what it does. And it'll happen. It is just really weird. So that's why for me, it's like, wow, this is just proven out. I've always believed in like the energy stuff and that we're light beings or whatever. That's always been my belief. And, but it was really proven to me, one, when my father passed away back in 2016, and he woke me up when he left the world, literally like an energy bounced through my house. And I later learned that, about 10 minutes later, that when that happened, that's when he passed away. So at the time of his passing, his energy bounced through my house. And then now with my twin, doing these little energy experiments that I had done with him over the past 3 years to kind of test or validate this. So why am I sharing this? Because I want to show you that, going back to the question from the energy circle, that our energy really does create our frequency, or our thoughts really do create our energy, and that energy is our frequency, and that's our vibration, and it's what we put out there in the world. And when I was really getting a grasp of that and seeing how powerful, as individuals we really are, is when I realized that there were some things that I needed to address about my inner narrative, my thoughts, my inner monologue, the soundtrack that's playing in my head. And when things would come up, what I would try to do is, one, at a very high level, just assume best intentions. And then I would go to a place of just being compassionate towards myself. And, why am I feeling this way? Well, I'm feeling this way because, or I'm feeling this way because. And there were times where I was getting some of my inner narrative mixed up with the concept of telepathy. So I think that's something to be really mindful of, because I know a lot of people talk about telepathy and twin flames telepathy and everything. And oftentimes it can be confused with the inner narrative that's going on. And that we're believing that we're having this inner connection with another person when it's really your inner narrative that's playing out. And however you want to, classify that or label it, you can call it whatever you want. But the one thing you want to be sure of is that that inner narrative isn't being like, mommy dearest and accusatory or belittling yourself or others. So that's the one thing to really manage in your mindset, is just what is going on in that inner soundtrack in general. Manage those thoughts, manage your beliefs, flip them if they're not serving you. Are they unhealthy? Are they limiting? Are they judgmental towards yourself or others? When you go back to the whole mission and the chosen ones, like, this isn't an elite group. This is really a gift that you are having this awareness about how your inner world creates your outer world. And then that also affects other people too. So if you're somebody who is holding out hope for a connection, if you're somebody who is longing, and I've talked to people who've been kind of navigating this stuff for like a couple of decades, and I can't even imagine. For me, it was tough enough for the amount of time I had gone through. It's like, I can't even imagine. And I have just so much love and compassion I'm sending to people who are struggling on this path. But I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be a struggle. But it's all about you. It's all about your choices and how you're going to manage your mindset, how you're going to nurture yourself, how you're going to parent yourself. Sometimes we got to be, we've got to parent ourselves and make sure that we are making ourselves do some things that can be hard. So that was something that I realized, that I was being hard on myself in the wrong ways, and I wasn't parenting myself in the right ways. So I kind of have this belief that our adult years are just us reparenting ourselves, and hopefully we get it, and we can continue to evolve and grow and be resilient, because life will always have challenges to present to us. Even if, you reconnect with your twin and you're in a relationship with, no matter who you're in a connection with, no matter what you're doing, no matter how much money you have. Like, there is no, when you reach the mountaintop, you still have to come back down the mountain. So it's really just about, that climb and ascending. So don't believe that once you have a person or a relationship or something, whatever that is, that everything's going to be perfect and better and, relief. Life still moves on. Life still carries on. Things still come up in our lives. There's still wonderful things. There's still challenging things. There's still sad things. But when we're more connected to who we are and what our vision is and our mission and our values, it allows us to move through these things a little more fluidly. So if you were like this person that I met at that women's healing circle the other night, and you're holding out hope because of a longing that you have for a person, what is that energy creating in your life? And can you put that to the side, even if for just a little bit? I know that can be a little stressful to think about sometimes, because it becomes kind of like a crutch, like almost like a drug, that energy. What if you just put it aside for a couple of days, and instead of using that time to search for content or try to validate this whole thing or yourself or whatever, why don't you just focus on you? Is there something that you've been putting off doing because you're afraid? Or is there something that you've been wanting to start but have been hesitant to do so? What if there was something that you could just do to prove to yourself that you really are the creator of your reality? And all that starts with your self-concept. So it's one of the reasons why I encourage anyone I talk to. Doesn't matter if I coach or read for people. I talk to my friends, my family, people in the grocery store, wherever, I've gotten into some really interesting conversations in random places about this stuff. But it starts with your self-concept. And I do offer a free ebook. It's 7 days of exercises, real simple exercises to help you get better connected to your heart. And it's really easy, logical stuff. Like we make, all you have to do, if you have a corporate job, you probably have done SMART goals, or you've probably done them in school. Like that's all this really is. It's writing down your SMART goals. Go Google SMART goals. It's not even magical. I mean, it can be if we want it to be. I choose for it to be magical because that's the stuff I like. But it's also very practical. It's stuff that I have my teams do, the team that I have oversight on at work, we do SMART goals, like it's the same thing. We're trying to manifest a successful professional life and a successful project. So is life. It's magical and it's practical. So check out my free ebook on my website, the 7-Day Mindset Reset. Go to the Get Started page. You can find the ebook there. Also check out my blog posts, and if you like, I'm now offering 30 and 60-minute coaching sessions, and you can purchase those through my site if you'd like to connect with me. And the beauty of coaching is like it shouldn't be a crutch. It shouldn't be an addiction to contact somebody to constantly validate you. Like coaching sessions at different intervals can be incredibly helpful in, one, allowing somebody to help you see where maybe you have some blocks, and how perhaps, strategize and come up with different approaches to move through them, and create like a plan of action. And also, me personally, I like to do a bit of an energy check-in just to see how things are, where there might be blocks, like energetic blocks, or do a little bit of a read on a person just to perhaps give you more insight into what's going on in your inner world and how you can help you navigate that. So get clear on your self-concept. Who are you? How are you showing up in this world? What are the things that make you happy and bring you joy? What do you want to experience more of in life? And then the ebook also includes just some simple tools and tips on how to manage your mindset, create affirmations, and tools that you can use to help reinforce mindset. I recommend the ThinkUp app. I know there are a ton of subliminals out here and other things, and I'm sure a lot of people have great intentions, but maybe I'm just a little too paranoid. But I like to be in control of my subliminals so and recordings. So I use the ThinkUp app, and I've created my own affirmations. And the ThinkUp app is, I think they have a free version of it, but it's also I think it's like, I believe I paid $20 for a lifetime subscription when I first got it a couple of years ago. So check that out and create your own affirmations. Create affirmations that support your self-concept, that support the way you show up in the world and how the world shows up for you. And you'll be amazed at how you start to see things shift. And one other thing to think about in terms of frequency and vibration and stuff like that is Abraham Hicks has great content. And I love the whole concept of like the vortex and things like that. So for me, when I was feeling stuck early on in this process and I was struggling to like reach for a higher emotion, I happened upon Abraham Hicks's content. And that was one thing that I really loved. And when I was reading, I believe the book was Ask and It Is Given. I think that's the title of that book. And what I learned in that process was when I was stuck in a low vibe, like let's say I was just sad or mad about something, then what was making me sad? And I would label it, and I would like write out a sentence. This is what's making me sad. And then I would write something to that to say, while this is making me sad, I have hope that I can reach, a higher emotion. Or I believe that, and I stated what I believed. So it allowed me to kind of generalize the emotions and just acknowledge what I was feeling, identify them and acknowledge what I was feeling, and then hold the belief that I could reach a higher emotional state. But I had to get, check in with your self-concept. And if you're somebody who's, been on an emotional roller coaster, to check in with your self-concept regularly. And for me, that's what allowed me to, write my own prescription, if you will, like my self-care prescription. And then I used that to make sure that I was staying in alignment with my values, my vision, my mission. So when stuff comes up outside of me, I can check myself and make sure that I'm not being, overstepping my own boundaries or someone else's boundaries. So a lot of this is really practical on top of all the magical and mystical that's out here as well. So be sure that you're keeping that balance in check and that you're getting the help and the support that you need to navigate all these things. So this feels like a good place to end this rant, but I hope it was helpful. And if it did, like, share, and subscribe. And this is just a reminder that you are loved, you are wonderful, you are amazing, you are necessary, and you are really freaking needed right now. So step into your power. And until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and good vibes for your journey. Bye.